All right, it's your girl Kay, and I'm back with another banger. So, this episode, I'm going to talk about a blog post that I saw and how it ties into relating with me and other people's stories. It's called, this episode is called Dear Desire, Where Did I Go? And the blog post I saw was about sex lists in the city from a woman named Miss Twila Goode. So I'm going to introduce her in. She's from Dallas Fort Worth area and a certified clinical sexuality coach. Miss Twilla, please come in and tell everyone about you.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me on. And I know the name is kind of tricky. It's Twila. And yes, I am in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and I am a certified sex coach and owner of a Taste of Sex Intimacy Coaching here in the area. And so the blog post that you are referencing, I wrote that, a while back. And it was a spinoff of Sex in the City. And so at the time, I was going through some things in situationships, not really in a relationship. And so at the time, it was sexless in the city. What do you do when you are not sexually active? How are you channeling that energy, and how does that make you feel overall? And when is it the right time for you to get back into, say, the dating world if you want to have sex again? So, yes, Sexless in the City was a fun blog piece. And so I just love the show Sex in the City. So I was like, well, why don't I just write about sexless in the city? And at the time, a group of friends and we were not practicing sex. And honestly, I think that lasted for like a few months. So it did not last long at all. No.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about in the blog you stated on some of the causes that can cause sexless
Mhm.
relationships or marriages. So I want you to elaborate more on the causes because I know that a lot of people think that, especially men, that when a woman doesn't necessarily want sex at that moment with them, they think that, oh, she may not like me anymore. She's
Mhm.
someone else or some type of insecurity that they would direct on the woman and within themselves.
Yeah. So Sexless in the City, part of that was losing the desire. And what does that look like and feel like? Even for me in my situation, I was going through these different situationships, but the desire for sex was not really there after a while because I wanted to make sure I was with the right person. Now, when it comes to being in a long term relationship, marriage, oftentimes the libidos can change. And so as women get older, our sex drive changes, which I noticed that as well. But it changes in some women as they get older due to hormones. It could be they're going through premenopause or menopause, depending on what age and stage of their life that they're in. It could be where they are truly consumed with, if they have children in the relationship, maybe it could be, careers. It could simply be where sex is no longer her priority. So what does that look like? And so when I'm talking to clients and, the wife is saying, I just don't have that desire anymore, then somewhere along the lines, then the intimacy has probably gotten lost along the way. So then I'm working with couples on how they can regain their intimacy back again so that the desire can start to come back for her. Now, with men, sometimes, when it comes to sex, it can be a little bit tricky. For them, they may still be, ready to have sex, ready to go. They're all into it. Or if they are having maybe some health issues or if it's stress, then that's affecting their libido. So now they're noticing, okay, my erections aren't like what they used to be. My stamina isn't where it used to be. So as I'm talking to clients, we're talking about the desire for the woman. And for him, we're talking about his stamina and his libido. And that could be, what is his diet like? Is he on any type of medication that's affecting his blood flow? And then we have these conversations. Okay, well, when was the last time you actually just held hands and just enjoyed each other's company? What does your room look like in intimacy? Is it inviting? And so a lot of times, if any of those characteristics are off a little bit, it can create this domino effect to where, okay, now she doesn't have the desire, and it could be where the change in his health or stress can affect his stamina and his libido.
Okay, so when I saw the post, I actually could resonate with it from it, far as the losing the desire to want sex. I'm getting older, but I'm not that old. I'm 24, so when I was in my 20s and 18, I was, having fun, single. It was more up far as my sex drive was up. But now, as I, gotten more responsibilities and everything, I felt like, stress is a factor and life circumstances to the point where, like you said, it's not a priority to me, or it's so when it comes to a relationship situation, that individual thought that I didn't want them anymore, so it created problems and conflict in a relationship.
And so when you are dating or you meet someone, and it's all about connection. And so once you find that person that you have this connection with, then that, kind of gets you going like, okay, everything is great. Our communication is great. We have this chemistry. The connection is there. I want to get to learn more. So as you continue to get to learn this person, and if it does become a exclusive relationship, now maybe you want to have that conversation to say, I haven't had sex in a while. It hasn't been on, top of my priority. But I'm, really into you. I really would like to explore different things with you. So you can have that conversation, with them once you get to that point. But it really takes some self-exploration to make sure that that's the right thing that you want to do. Now, oftentimes, if people have experienced any type of sexual trauma, that can interfere with going forward when it comes to having a healthy sex life. Or if you have not had experienced any type of sexual trauma, but your energy is placed elsewhere and sex really isn't on, top of the to-do list, it really takes, like I said, going back to building that connection with that special someone and asking yourself, am I ready to have sex with this person? Is this person going to be the one that I could potentially see myself getting married to, whatever that looks like? So you want to make sure that you start with self first, asking yourself, do I want to take it further with this person if you are seeing someone, or allowing your time to, to have grace and give yourself some space to heal if you come out of a certain relationship and you're not ready to rush into anything. So it's all about your timing when you're ready to do that, when you feel mentally ready to have sex, because sex starts here. And when you know that as you get out into the dating world, what are you looking for? Do you find someone that is aligned with your goals and your values? And so you want to take your time to get to know them before you just jump in, rush into anything. And then once you find that person, and the chemistry is there, and like I said, that connection is there, then that can create that desire again. That intimacy is there where you want to spend time with them and, be in their presence. You may enjoy their physical touch. You may enjoy the intellectual conversations. So all of that is forms of intimacy. Doesn't have anything to do with the physical part of sex. It's all about that connection and truly getting to know that person.
What about when you have been in the relationship off and on, but some things happen, so you lost that trust and security, and that kind of dictated that desire that you has to do with sex and everything. So on one partner's part, you may not want it as much as the other partner.
Yeah, so if you have been in a relationship and trust has been an issue, now that's lack of respect. Maybe boundaries have been crossed, loyalty, honesty. And so now, how do I recover from that? And that's when you have to have a truly heart to heart conversation with yourself. May take some time to say, look, I need to gather my thoughts so I can figure out what I want to do. Then after you do that, then you have to come to the realization, do I want to move forward with this person? And if so, the two of you have to work together to say, okay, this happened. Why did this happen? Now we have to overcome this, both of us, because now trust has to be rebuilt again. And it's not going to happen overnight. Respect has to happen all over again. But it starts with, is that something that you are able to move forward on? Because what you don't want to do is say, okay, I thought about it. I want to move forward with you. Let's talk about it. Now you find solutions. Now you work things out. But what you don't want to do is, as you continue to grow with this person, you bring it up, or you have these insecurities, or you are, how that trust was violated. Maybe you're calling them all the time, checking up on them, not believing when they tell you that they were really at this said location. So it really takes a lot of work, talking to each other, having weekly check-ins to say, how's everything coming on your end? Is everything great in our relationship now? This is what I've noticed. So you want to have these conversations over and over again, but it takes both parties to want to do that. You can't have one party to say, well, I told you I was sorry and I wasn't going to do it again. Everyone has to put in the work. For the person where the trust was violated, that person who did that to the other partner, they have to want to put in the work to prove to say, hey, look, I made a mistake. I admit I was wrong. I own it. I'm taking accountability for that. Let's work together so we can move forward. You, on the other hand, that person that's being told this has to truly want to do and do the work with them and move forward and truly believe them when they tell you that. So, both of you have to come to the conclusion and the realization to say, this isn't going to happen overnight. This is going to take some work on both of our parts. And what can we do to make sure that the trust is here again? What can we do to make sure that the respect is here again? Because you don't want to blame yourself for something that they chose to do. Now you're questioning, well, what did I do wrong? Now you're walking on pins and needles because you don't want them to go back to whatever it was that they did to maybe if it was to step outside the relationship. So all in all, it starts with having a conversation with yourself, really having that heart to heart and saying, if I stick with this person, this is what we have to talk about. This is what we have to work on together. This is something that we're going to continue to have these conversations. And that other person, has to have that buy-in as well and has to work together with the building of that relationship. If you bring it to the table and you tell them, look, this is what we have to do, and they brush you off, or they say, okay, well, that sounds great, but you notice they aren't really putting in the work, then that's when you're going to have to revisit and say, okay, we talked about it. The conversation that we had went like this. You said this, but this is what I'm noticing. These are your actions. And, depending on if you're not able to rebuild with that person, then you may have to walk away. And, walking away isn't always a bad thing. Walking away can be a good thing if, there's some type of trauma involved in a relationship or any type of abuse, of course, or you see them that they aren't trying to work things out. And you're like, okay, I can't do this by myself. Mm-hmm. It's two of us in a relationship. And so, you may have to walk away so you can heal and move forward so that you can be ready for the next person. Because what you don't want to do is leave that relationship, go into another relationship with having these trust issues and thinking that this new person is using the same playbook as your ex-partner.
Definitely. I was gonna ask about how can you come from that far as trying to get back to feeling fulfilled in life, and getting back the happiness in a relationship after a trauma or a issue has happened in a relationship that caused the sex to go down.
So the way that you can get back is, of course, speak with a therapist, a coach, such as myself, so we can talk about ways and first talk about, okay, well, what happened? What was this trigger? What specifically happened? So we can navigate a way to overcome that and work through it together. That would be the first start. The second thing is that you would want to do is truly take some time out for healing. And that could be like a lot of self-care, doing the work to heal yourself from whatever has happened. Now, if it's like abuse, then you definitely want to talk to a therapist to discuss what's happened so they can help you understand and overcome and work through it. That would be, like I said, a great start there. And you want to make sure that you continue to go see whoever this person is so you can continue to heal. And it doesn't happen overnight when it comes to the healing process, okay? And so you want to start with self-reflection. I'm big on meditation. I'm big on affirmations because it's rebuilding of how you feel about yourself. It's rebuilding on the self-care that you need. It's rebuilding internally. And so, like I said, affirmations are great. Meditation is key. And then something else you can do to overcome, and part of self-care is, yoga is great. Exercising is great. Getting this energy out. Changing your energy. Okay, so that as you walk out into the world and when it's time for you to date again, you have this new sense of self. You have a healthy relationship with you. Something else you can do is journal. Journaling is great to write down your feelings, your thoughts, reflections, how you're feeling that day. You may create a vision for yourself. Have a vision board party for you. What do I want my vision to look like for a healthy relationship with myself, as well as with the next person that I want to be with? So you definitely start there, but first things first is depending on the severity of the trauma, what has happened in the relationship, then I would definitely suggest seeking therapy, seeking advice from relationship coach, intimacy coach, or if it is some type of sexual trauma, then I don't specialize in that. So then that person, I would recommend them to see an actual sex therapist that deals with trauma, because that can, you could be dealing with mental issues as well because of the said trauma. Okay. For me, with what I do, I focus on the present and the future. Don't really dwell with the past a lot. We can have conversations about the past, but I do not specialize in that for now. So what I do now is I focus on your present issues, challenges, and what your goals are for the future. And we come together and have an action plan for that. With all of that being said, I'm in the process of getting my master's in social work and specialize in sex therapy, so I can work with clients who may have had, some sexual trauma in the past. But to answer your question, seek therapy first, talk to someone. We can always talk to friends, but oftentimes you may need to talk to a licensed a therapist. Do the self-work, do the work on yourself. And that looks, like I said, meditation is great. Yoga is great. Affirmations. is great. I'm very into the holistic approaches. So trying those things out, but you want to keep doing the work. You have to. Even when you meet the next person that you want to be with, you still want to continue to work on yourself and continue to heal. Excuse me. And you also want to let them know what it is that you are working through. You may not want to tell them like right at the beginning, as soon as you meet that person, but as you continue to get to know them, having the conversations, you can say, hey, look, I'm really enjoying our company. I'm really enjoying your company and our conversations. I just want to let you know that, I am, overcoming some issues from a previous relationship. I'm going to therapy. I'm working through this. I just wanted to let you know that I'm not in a rush. I still want to take my time, but I just wanted to let you know because this lets them know and it puts the ball in their court. It's like, I understand. I could be going to therapy myself. You never know. They could be telling you that too. And so if they're like, okay, I understand. We can work through this together. Now, okay, we can work through this together. He understands or she understands what it is that I'm going through. And they were going to walk this journey with me.
How can you, I know my little situation, how can you work on communication? I think that's the key too, because a lot of times men will say that they weren't able to speak to their partner and be open and vulnerable, so that may cause them to be able to speak to someone else outside of the relationship. And I feel like on that part, it's kind of betrayal and very personal. How can that partner, like far as men, how can they be able to be vulnerable, secure, have a safe space?
Well, so when couples are in a relationship, everyone has to have time to speak and, be heard. Also, you want to listen to understand. You want to be mindful of your tone, your body language, your nonverbal. Do you have an attitude? Or is there some type of rolling of the eyes, hand gestures? That can be very dismissive and put offish. Yeah, I just made that word up. But it's where, men, they're not going to want to continue to deal with that over and over again. Okay. So it's where, and it's a timing thing too. Whatever it is that you're talking to your partner about, it is a timing thing. Is this the right time to talk to my partner? I have something heavy on my heart and on my mind, but my partner's getting ready to go out to work and they're rushing. That probably wouldn't be the best time to talk to them. Okay. So you want to make sure the timing is great. Okay. So maybe it could be after dinner or while you're having dinner, say, I really have something that I really want to share with you. This is what is bothering me. And I want to be able to talk to you about it. Once your partner says that, you should be so attuned and in touch with what they are saying to listen. Oftentimes, we as women, we want to, our mind is like a Rolodex and we have like all of these thoughts. And it's like, oh, I have to say this, I have to say that. And we end up cutting them off. And we shut them down. And then we tell them, well, you can continue now. And they're like, well, no, never mind.
Definitely.
So you have to truly train yourself. And it goes back to effective communication in all areas. So you have to truly, train your brain to say, nope, you're not going to talk right now. You're going to listen to what it is that my partner is saying. After they have said what they needed to say, to make sure you understand, I like to tell my clients and say, what I heard you say is this. And you're repeating back what they've said. Is that correct? That lets you know yes or no. Yes, that's what I said. Or no, that's not what I said. If they say, well, no, that's not what I said. Okay, can you say it again? I want to make sure I truly understand what it is that you're saying. And so you may have to reframe the question or whatever it is that they're, statement that they're saying to make sure you process it. But that is the art of listening. That is the art of effectively communicating with your partner. first of all, it's timing. When is the right time to talk to my partner? You don't want it to be where, like I said, in that example, the other person is rushing to get to work. Well, they're not, their attention isn't there. Okay. Probably don't want to text them while they're at work as well to say, hey, this is da 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 da. Now they're reading it and they're like, oh my gosh, now what? I have to get to this. So you want to make sure that the conversation is held face to face. I'm not a big fan of we need to talk, because we need to talk. Oh my goodness, guys hear that and it's like, oh hell, what happened now? What did I do? Is there going to be some complaining or nagging? What you want to do for a woman, if she needs to approach her guys, say, start out with a compliment to say, I appreciate what you do for our family. I have been feeling like this, and then go into whatever it is. For a guy, he needs that space to talk to his woman. He's got to have this. He's got to understand her way before they get married. How was she communicating when y'all were dating? Was she rah, rah, rah and yelling all the time? Well, you already knew that when you continue to move forward with her. So as you're dating, for men, they want to be mindful of, how does she communicate? Does she listen to me when I talk? Does she talk over me? Does she, is her tone of voice, is it crass? Is it aggressive? Is she yelling? So they want to be looking at all of that in that dating stage. How is the woman I'm with? How does she communicate? How does she talk to me? Is she respectful? Does she listen to what I have to say? Is she truly paying attention to what I have to say? So you want to pick up on all of this and learn all of this as you are dating. Okay. And it could be, in the very beginning stages of dating. How do you like to communicate? Are you a texter? Do you prefer to have like phone conversations? I tell clients all the time, when you're dating, texting is fine, especially if you can't talk over the phone during the day. But at some point in time, you have to go back to old school, pick up the phone and talk. Because there's so much more you can get from an actual phone conversation. Definitely. You can tell when that tone of voice changes. You can tell when your partner has that attitude. You can tell all these little things as you are actually speaking to them over the phone. Whereas in text, the message can get lost in translation. Be typing in one thing and they can receive it a certain way. So, all of that, to answer your question, is how to effectively communicate with that person. It starts way in the beginning for men. How is she communicating with me? Is she allowing me to speak? Is she allowing me to be heard? Is she listening to me when I said I had a bad day? Is she asking certain questions to say, hey, well, what happened at work? Is there a way I can help? Is she doing that before, the two of you proceed and move on into the relationship? So that would be my biggest advice for men, is to pay attention to the woman that you are interested in, that you want to build a relationship with, because all of this is foundation. All these are foundational skills for a healthy relationship. And if the two of you cannot or don't know how to effectively communicate in the beginning, then the foundation already has cracks in it. And so a lot of times people will overlook these little cracks, and the cracks become bigger and bigger. And years have passed, and now the cracks are really huge, and the foundation of the whole house has shifted. And so now how do you repair that?
I feel like when it comes to communication, me personally, I don't catch myself or notice that I will interrupt mid while he's speaking. That's something that I'm working on too, because in my mind, I'm an overthinker. And what he's saying, I'm like trying to figure out an answer already in my head so that I have to get it out not thinking about I just talked over him and now he's gonna shut down. And then the other part about just having the right time to talk about things. I don't think a lot of time women think about that. We just got to get it out wherever you are, and that's such. I think you're right, because who wants to get work and has to get that long message? It kind of changes their mood. Um, I do want to speak on. Do you have any type of tips or practices to help couples or individuals get back to that healthy sex life? What can you do? Games or anything?
Yeah. Before we touch on that, I want to go back to some things that you just said. So one of the things was, we're overthinkers. That's women. That's part of our DNA, part of our chemistry, I'll say. Not so much the DNA, but yeah, our chemistry. It's our makeup. We will overthink. We will create a whole scenario in our head and have a whole Lifetime movie already drawn out and planned out. And we have the characters and the setting and this, and that. And so as, our partner is talking to us, it's like we have to be one step ahead because we're always on the go, and our mind is just going. And so it truly takes practice, because when I was married, I used to do the same thing. And my husband at the time, he would be like, you never let me finish. And in my mind, I'm thinking, but no, I do let you finish. But as I've gotten older, and I have realized that was a fault of mine, wanting to get my voice heard half the time now, so I won't forget what I was thinking. So now I'm like, no, Twila, just relax, I may have to write down my thought, but it takes training. And that's where our meditation comes in, because when you meditate and when you're consistent with meditation, you focus the brain and you're focusing on one thing, and that's being still and being quiet. You continue to do that over and over again. Now your brain it's not all over the place. You challenged it or changed it to where it can be in the moment. Mm-hmm. So when you're speaking to your partner, you're in the moment. You aren't thinking about 25 other things, because you have trained your brain to just be focused, be still, and be in the moment. But it takes a lot of work. And first of all, it takes realizing that that's something that you do. And that's one thing that I had to realize. I do tend to cut him off. I do overthink. I do want to make sure I am heard and get my thoughts out. But in the process of doing that, I may cut him off, or I may overtalk him. Mm-hmm. And I had to realize that. And so now, fast forward, because I've been divorced 12 years now. And so now that I'm in a healthy relationship, it's been 3 years, I'm more aware of how I communicate with not only him, but, my coworkers, anybody, to make sure I take the time to let me be still and be quiet. Now I can respond. So it's the art of learning how to listen. It's the art of learning how to communicate. I truly wait till he finishes, and then I say what I need to say. If I do catch myself being overly excited, as I like to call it, and getting my points out, I will say, I'm sorry, I apologize. That was rude of me. I didn't mean to do that. But it does take a lot of work. So I wanted to touch on that. And the other thing is the timing. Women, you have to make sure that it's the right time for you to talk. Do you have an attitude that moment? I call it, I read it in a book, and the acronym, I believe, was HALT, or if you were hungry, if you were, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to pull it up. But at any rate, it was saying if you were hungry in the moment, you might not want to have a conversation, because I know how I am when I'm hungry. I have an attitude, okay? I think it was hungry. I think the A was attitude. Because you can tell when we ticked off about something.
I'd be like, I don't have an attitude.
And we know we do because it's all in our face. It's in our body language. It's in our tone of voice. It's in how we walk around the house. If we start to cleaning and we slamming doors, whatever, we ticked off about something.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are feeling that and your partner, because guys notice this, he's in tune with you, he's going to notice what's wrong with you. And the first thing that we say, nothing. And we know dang on good and well is something.
Yes.
And at that moment, what you want to say is, and I've been there before, at that moment, what you want to say is, you know what? I'm unhappy right now. I have an attitude. I just need a minute to decompress, to give me some space, and then we can talk. Okay. But letting them know. And it could be something that doesn't have anything to do with them. It could be you had a bad day at work. Maybe the kids got on your nerves. I don't know. But the fact of it is that your mood has changed. So you want to be able to express it to your partner. L is for listening. Are you truly in tune with listening at the moment? Okay. So it's HALT, HALT. Are you hungry? Do you have an attitude? Are you in the space to truly listen to your partner? And are you ready to, listen to them and they listen to you? And the T is timing. Is it the right time? So you want to, take a moment, ask yourself that. If you're going through any of that, then that's not the right time to talk to them, to bring up whatever it is that's bothering you. Okay. And then tips on how to have a healthy sex life. For one, good sex involves all the five senses. And so we learn what our five senses are back in grade school. So we know the sense of sight. What does your room look like? Is your room inviting for sex? Okay. Do you have clothes in a chair? Do you have, paperwork everywhere? What does your room look like? The sense of sound. Do you have music playing? Preparing for the moment. What does the setting look like? Are you getting ready to have this space for intimacy and for sex? So you can have music going. Create a playlist. The two of you can come together and create a playlist of your favorite songs, sensual songs that you want to play. Taste. You can always feed each other. As you're kissing on your partner, how do they taste? So that's one way. When it comes to taste, you can also get real fun with it and put ice in your mouth and, rub it over their body, whatever y'all want to do. Ice is always fun. Smell. Maybe have like some scented candles going. Maybe you have your aromatherapy spray. Maybe it's the smell of, the massage oil that, you're putting on each other. Maybe it's his cologne or her perfume. So whatever that sense of smell is like. So sight. Oh, touch. Yes, touch. Touch is great. Touch is something as simple as holding hands is a form of intimacy. Of course, sensual massages are great. Sensual massages, I teach clients how to pleasure map on their partner's body. And so basically what it is you're doing is as you're touching your partner, you're learning their sweet spots. You're learning where those erogenous zones are that's turning them on. And you can tell what they like because their body starts to move. Ooh, that feels good. Like right there, they're actually telling you. Mm-hmm. You notice that their body has changed. They're shifting as you start to touch them. So touch is great. Massages are great. You can incorporate feathers when you are, learning your partner's body, using just two fingers, just to slowly go up your partner's body, legs, thighs, the breasts, arms, rubbing the back of the neck. Scalp massages are great. So all of these are little things that are yet intimate, but can lead to sex, or they may not lead to sex. It's still intimate moments. So that involves, good sex. It's truly being in tune with that person, chemistry, connection, conversations, letting each other know what you enjoy sexually, what you want to try. It could also be, taking a bath together, a shower together. All of that, those are all forms of intimacy and connection, and learning how to talk to each other. If we can have great conversation throughout the day, if we know how to resolve and manage our conflicts in a healthy manner, that's great. We're always not going to see eye to eye, but if I can come to you, we can talk. Okay, we talked about it. Two grown adults. You listen to me, I listen to you. We're not cussing each other out. We're not yelling. That builds on the foundation, and it continues to grow, which, it's like, dog, I'm so turned on. We had this great conversation. We were able to resolve our conflicts. I love us for that. I love our relationship for that. And so that can segue into having a healthy sex life, because everything else you've settled in a healthy manner. So it just filters over into having a healthy sex life.
Yeah, I definitely think that, as you stated, being able to resolve it, any type of conflict and everything, that's important, because a lot of times it's not resolved. It kind of lingers, and it kind of gets in the back of the woman's head and makes her not even want sex a lot of times. It just head like, oh, I remember this and I just can't get over it, and things and that such, because I honestly feel like your mind and her down there is connected together. Now, men, I don't know which one thinking first, but I know for me, both of them are linked together. So if I'm mentally upset and then she's not gonna want it.
Right. And so, if you are upset or whatever that is, and mentally you're thinking about that, then yes, that will affect the desire. That will affect her to where you aren't stimulated. You're not turned on. If this person has hurt you, if this person has crossed your boundaries or been disrespectful, that chips away and takes away at you. And so for women, we think about these things, and now I'm turned off. I'm not turned on because you have hurt me in some form of fashion. Now, for men, if they have been hurt from their partner, it can be the same way, honestly, where they are not aroused by their partner, they're hurt, but they shut down. They internalize. They may stay at work longer. They may maybe go out into their man cave and they don't want to be bothered. They could, channel that frustration that way because they are upset. And so it takes the two of them to get together and say, you did this and it hurt me, or I feel like this when you did that. So you don't want to start out saying you did this, but you want to start out saying with the I statements. I feel like this when you did that. And so then you want to open up that conversation and truly have a heart to heart, sit down and talk about it. And, if it's if it's very overwhelming and something that you have tried to, get over, you try to work things out with them, and it is just not working for you, then, you may have to sit down and say, I've tried this, I still love you. I'm really working hard to get over whatever this is, but I can't. And sometimes, that's when you have to ask yourself, do you want to work it out, or is it time to walk away? Mm-hmm.
Definitely, that was good advice.
Yeah.
That's really good advice for us. Do you need to walk away? A lot of times
Mm-hmm.
women will stay and continue to stay, thinking that things will change within herself and
Mm-hmm.
feel about that individual, but later on it'll really change into like resentment more. Um, that's not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
that one wants, but that's what it ends up being. And her
Right.
anger start channeling more on that individual that she thought she was going to move on and not ponder over the past.
Right. Right. And at that point, that's when you have to have that self-reflection. That's when you have to have that coming to Jesus meeting, if you will, with yourself, and and truly have the ask yourself those hard questions. If you need to write that down, like, I'm feeling like this. I've tried to work this out. If you find yourself continuing to be unhappy or being mad, um, you don't want to start to have resentment. You don't want to start to have this negative energy within yourself. And so if you realize that, okay, yeah, this is detrimental to me and my inner peace, and I'm still harping on something that happened a year ago, 2 years ago, then, and you aren't over that, then yeah. And it's one thing if the person is showing you how they have changed or how they realize they made that mistake,
Mm-hmm.
and they are, you know, they're working on the relationship. They're working to be a better individual. It's
Mm-hmm.
one thing when you do see that, but when you don't see those actions taking place, then that's when you can continue to be, okay, I'm still ticked off because we had this conversation. You said you want to do one thing, but you're not doing it.
Right.
Or I told you that um, I felt like this when you did this and you didn't change. Now I'm ticked off because they aren't putting in the work. So it's one of those things when both parties are putting in the work, there is a good chance where you can continue to work together and overcome the obstacle. But it's one thing when one person is doing the work and the other person isn't. That's when things get kind of tricky, and that's where resentment comes in, and that's where anger starts to fester.
Definitely, I feel like it's all about teamwork. If you
Mm-hmm.
work on it together and put past aside, it needs to be both of the individuals actively working together to fix things. Like,
Right.
if it's one person doing it, then it will create anger and resentment.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any ways that individuals can do practice on self-care and self-love, meditation? What type of practices do you give as advice?
Oh, I tell my clients meditation for one. Yoga is great. It's a great exercise. It's great for the body, stretching. It's great mentally because you have to be in tune and be focused. I'm big on journaling. So, writing down your thoughts. I'm big on self reflection, standing in front of the mirror, doing the mirror work, looking at yourself, you know, in the birthday suit, in the nude, and, saying those affirmations. I am deserving of love. I am deserving of passion. I am deserving of pleasure. I'm channeling that inner energy, I like to call it. Also, when you are saying your affirmations, be mindful of your tone. You want to make sure that you project and say it with a strong voice, that you mean it and that you believe it. So you don't want to be quiet and say, well, I believe in love, and or I'm deserving of love. Like, that's not convincing at all. So you want to make sure that you sound believable, because it's something that you do deserve. And so that is what I tell my clients. And paying attention to what you're feeding your spirit. What are you watching on TV? What are you listening to? What foods are you eating? What are you putting into your body? All of that channels our energy, how we feel about ourselves. If you are on social media and you scroll it and it's so much negativity, that person said this and that person said this, and all these different posts and just all kind of stuff, all of that feeds into the psyche. So if you continue to see this stuff over and over and it's nothing positive, you're going to start to feel that energy.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching, I know that the reality TV shows are out there, but if you're watching a lot of that negative energy that's out there, that feeds into your spirit, so please be mindful of what you're watching, when you're watching it too. Like, if you go into bed and you just watched an episode of Snapped or Real Housewives,
Nice.
now you have subconsciously, you could probably have these thoughts. So you want to be mindful of what you watch before bed. Maybe you need to change it up and read something, that is of interest to you. Read something that's a positive, positive thoughts, before you go to bed. So all of that plays into your emotions. It plays into how you feel about yourself. And so I would say, just kind of limit the time when you are on social media. I know we have our phones attached to us at all times, but, just be mindful of what you're watching, what you are listening to, what you're looking at, what foods are you eating, channeling that energy to exercise, to stretch, to do your yoga. Walking is great. So all of these tips help with your self-care. It helps with your self-esteem. And they just overall help with how you feel about yourself.
I really appreciate it. Honestly, I have tried starting to exercise. And as I get up to exercise, I feel like I've gotten energy. Now better. Like, I feel some type of, I feel great. I'm up for energized and productive. And not negative, because I know that a lot of times I get on social media, I try to limit it. But yeah, like you said, you see negative things and getting your thoughts, and you're wondering why you just snapped on your man, or so you brought up something that you left in the past, but you just thought you saw a poster like, oh, I remember that. Like, well, you did such and such, I remember this. And you're right. I have to keep scrolling.
Right. Or just walk away from the phone and be like, I'm not going to entertain this. And, you have to ask yourself, where do I want to spend my time? What do I want to spend my time? What do I want to be doing with my time? How do I want to exert my energy? Because time is money.
It is.
And, so it's, how do you want to invest it? How do you want to invest in your time?
I think it's important when you're around your partner to give full undivided attention. I feel like it's very important to stay disconnected from your phone and any distractions, anything, like, out of respect. A lot of times, when they're in that moment, when they're individual, they will get on their phone.
Absolutely. So you want to avoid those distractions as much as possible.
All right, Miss Twila, can you tell me how to get connected with you?
Sure. Yes, you can find me on all social media. You can go to Instagram. That's where I I usually post. So you can go to Instagram. It's TWILAB.GOODE. You can also go to my website at twilabegoode.com. Now, my coaching sessions are online, and you can look at those coaching sessions. If you would like to book an initial consultation, that gives us time to talk to see if we're a right fit for each other. You can share your goals and your challenges, and then we can go from there. And then I also have in-person intimacy classes held in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All of that is on my website. So that's twilabegoode.com. And then Instagram is TWILAB.GOODE.
All right, fans, you heard her. You better go check